You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, presented by the Only One Media Group. This is the people's choice for quality interviews, celebrities, and special guests. Hosted by Demetrius Dinny Reynolds. Call in to join the mix at 701-801-9813. For the complete archive of episodes, visit onlyonemediagroup.com and be sure to like us on Facebook at Vigilantes Radio. We welcome all. Enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your host, Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds. Enjoy the show.
Yo, what is up? And welcome to another awesome episode of Vigilantes Radio. I'm your host, Denny Mussolini, and there are over 32,000 of you guys right now in our chat room, on the phone lines, Google Hangouts, Skype, the browser, all the plugins that we use to run these episodes. You guys are filling them up, and I appreciate that greatly. I mean, this is our second show for the night, so you came back, and I am super excited that you guys did. I feel like I should just, maybe serve some cold root beer or something and some ice cream and Oreos. Even though all of that is bad for you, but who cares, right? Well, I care, actually. Well, anyway. So, we have a special guest for this segment, so stick around for that. Hold on to your hats, your drinks, or whatever it is that you have going on. So how many times have you set out to change the world and then kind of grown discouraged at the first stumble? How many goals have you set and just plain forgot about them? You jot them down and whoop, there you go in the drawer. Or how many times have you been stopped in your tracks by the opinions of others? How many times have you produced excuses instead of results? How many more times will you settle for less that you're capable of becoming? Aren't you ready to really live your life for everything it's worth? This moment, right now, right this very second, is connected directly to your future. You only need to live with passion, live with purpose and commitment for a single moment, and then for the next moment, and the next, and the one after that one, and the one that comes after that one. Soon, you will be well on your way to true achievement of anything that you desire. You can completely control what you're doing right now. Try it and see how powerful it feels. Take 2 and call me in the morning. You are not at the mercy of excuses or circumstances. The challenges are definitely real. Man, I feel them every day. Just to be sure. But they are no match for the power of your continued focused effort. Emphasis on the focus part, okay? One moment at a time, one moment right after the other one. Rinse, repeat, okay? Will take you all the way to your brilliant, joyful future. Any moment will do for a start. So why not make it right now? I mean, the day is almost over, so we can start in the morning, right? Fresh start. Sounds good to me. Anyway, take that from me, Denny Mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond.
You're live in the mix. Let's get this started.
Yo, hello, and welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Music, or the book, or film, or even the business, where we dive into the minds of the people who create these marvelous things. It feels so good to be back with you guys once again. Big ups to my folks who are indigos, crystalline, or the starseeds, for my Vigilantes audience family, for my hooligans, and shout out to my people who are vegetarian or vegans. If you're in a struggle like me, we are averaging over 37,000 live listeners, and we've been at this for 5 solid years. I appreciate to all you guys who've been rocking with the kid on this journey, and we are still evolving, baby. It is all because of you, most definitely. We are the people who have dedicated their lives to music, spirituality, business, literature, art, films, and research in every aspect, and we want to allow you an opportunity to tell your story. Man, we've had celebrities on our show, from Grammy Award-winning artists, nominees, to actors, comedians, CEOs, technology revolutionaries, visual artists, from authors to professors, and vampires. Or people who think they're vampires. It doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. Come on our show and talk to me. So check it out to book your interview or to appear on my other show called Skeptics. Email me at vradio@onlyonemediagroup.com, and that's V as in Victor. We hope to get the stories behind these unique people and give them a chance to tell their truth to us and the universe. That is Vigilantes Radio sole purpose. You know the number to dial, 701-801-9813. Share that number with your buddy right now and tell them to tune in to connect with us or our guests, or you can hop in the mix directly from our website, which is onlyonemediagroup.com. Right from the homepage, you can slap that go live button and you'll be here live in the mix and in the chat room with all of us. So feel free to shoot over some questions to ask our guests while they are here, but only as time permits. Sometimes my guests and I talk entirely too much. And as always, all episodes are available for free download, and you can grab them from either Spreaker.com/onlyonemediagroup, iTunes, Player.fm, YouTube, any app from the Google Play or iTunes Store, or over at our website. And that goes for every single episode that we've ever aired.
Well, guys, tonight's the final interview for tonight. Well, it's the Aaron Flowers interview, and again, I'm Dini Mussolini, just in case you guys forgot my name that quick. But I'll remind you, no biggie. So our interviews go beyond the music, the movies, the books, the businesses, and into the minds of extraordinary people who create these marvelous things. From researching our guests, mining for details, watching, reading, listening, stalking, well, not that part, but listening to everything that we can. Our interviews are designed to bring out the best answers possible through provoking questions that have real substance and thought. Like TMZ, just jumping out the bushes, like, well, not really, that was reaching, really. Take that back. We aren't like TMZ. But anyway, our guest is a speaker, he's an author, high performance coach, military veteran, YouTuber, magician. And guys, I think we finally get to unmask the Batman, because this guy has to be Batman, right? All those accolades and hats. He's probably fighting crime on the side as a side hustle. Well, anyway, we'll find out. He may not tell. Let's go ahead and welcome him to our show. Aaron Flowers, you're now live in the midst with all of us. How's it going?
Hi, Deanie. Appreciate you having me here.
No problem at all. Man, 2019, and we're already in the 4th month. And I just tell you, man, like, I am just slow rolling into the year. I mean, I know it's 4 months in, and I'm just still like, yeah, I'm still in 2018. Still got things to do from 2018. But how's life so far? You know, how's life treating you so far?
Oh, life is going great these days. Everything's coming together finally.
Okay. Cool deal. Well, Aaron, welcome to the show again. And I guess we should start at the very beginning and kind of talk about your journey, your life journey. And it doesn't matter what part on your timeline that you start, because I have my popcorn and root beer. So take your time, man. But yeah, let's tell us your background and your life story.
Okay, I guess I'll start off with, who I am, where I come from. So I was in the United States military for 9 years, both Marines and Army. I was awarded a Bronze Star for my contributions during the Iraq invasion back in 2003. Since then, I've served as a Texas police officer, and currently I've been with the Department of Energy for nearly 20 years, where I've served as the SWAT and sniper team lead there, where I got to inspire people like your audience to be empowered and focus-driven. And that's some of my career achievements. Outside that, I've written a book about motivation called The Long Shot. Have a beautiful wife and home. Have a daughter on the way. Should be here in September. And I get to empower leaders of today in business, helping them get their beliefs unstuck. I help people who believe they aren't really leaders know that they are. And that allows them to recognize and embrace their leadership, growing their business dramatically. That's kind of where I come from and who I am and what I'm about.
Okay. Man, I don't know whether I should, maybe I just should do them all at the same time. Just say congratulations on the new addition to your family. Salute for your service in the Army. I appreciate that. And, man, and shake your hand for, being a police officer and sniper team leader. That's impressive.
Appreciate that.
Wow,
thank you.
Man. Yeah, you're super awesome, man. All the things I wanted to do,
I guess if you're going to be in leadership, you should have some kind of role in it.
Yeah. You gotta know what you are talking about. Yeah, most definitely. So let's talk about the birth of Motivation 8. How it grew from just being an idea, a concept, something on paper, to a full-blown movement and company.
So Motivation 8 is now a YouTube channel. It's a website as well, motivation8.com. And it all kind of started like most people's stories do, when something falls apart in your life and you got to rebuild it, and the outcome is, and for me it was Motivation 8. And I had two major setbacks in life. One was a career setback, and one was more like a personal life setback. And one taught me about the world of business and leadership, and one taught me about just everyday life and how you got to recover from it sometimes.
Okay.
And I guess I give you the career story, the business side of it, if you'd like to hear that.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so have you ever known what you want to be when you grow up? It's kind of that classroom question. Oh, I want to be an astronaut. Oh, I want to be, a dancer, singer.
Right, yeah.
For me, when I was growing up, I always wanted to be a police officer. And back in 2000, I was finally able to make that kind of come to life and come true when I graduated the academy here in Texas. And this is where the real fun begins. So I'm in my first police chase, and if you can only imagine, you see cop shows and all that kind of stuff, everybody's running around crazy, and in my first chase, I'm steadily chasing the bad guys, and like Crown Victoria doing speeds of about 60 miles an hour, 80 miles an hour, upwards of 120 miles an hour. I feel like I'm in a NASCAR. And I got a training officer, and he's sitting next to me in the passenger seat to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. And the excitement that is rushing through my veins at this moment is pretty exhilarating. And it kind of lets me know, yeah, this is definitely what I wanted to be when I grow up. And I have this feeling, this is me achieving what I've always wanted to do. I think everybody has that moment where they have that sense of achievement, that they finally got somewhere with something. And in this police chase, I wanted to take these bad guys down, and wanted to do it as safely as possible without hurting any, civilians. And if everything goes according to how I've been trained, these guys are going to be in handcuffs soon. However, what me and my training officer didn't realize was about to happen instead was the wake-up alarm for some old people was about to go off at 3 a.m. because the car we were chasing just crashed through their living room into their house. And my first police chase was over in the craziest way. We caught the bad guys. We helped people figure out the solution to the gaping hole that was once their living room. And it was truly chaos, but I felt in control at that moment. And that was my high performance moment, where, leaders thrive, bring order to chaos in those moments. And chaos brings opportunity. So I had that euphoric feeling that, man, I finally achieved this. But when I came to work again a few weeks later, I was in another police chase. And the outcome of this one is the one that nobody wants to hear. It's the outcome that everybody just, they fall victim to it sometime in their life where something falls apart. So I get this new training officer, and I get in my next police chase. And we're driving down the boulevard. I've already had some problems with this training officer in the past. But I'm like, I'm only like a week or two away from being off probation. I'll be out on my own finally. Hopefully be Rookie of the Year. But in this police chase, going down the boulevard, lights and sirens, and she's like, turn here, turn here, turn here. The bad guys are over here. And I don't listen to her. And I fly past because I'm like, no, I've been listening to the radio that the other officers and the bad guys are over at this location. And sure enough, we turn in, and there they are. They had gotten out of their vehicles where she wanted me to turn, and they got into a foot chase, and they ended up at the location that I turned into. So it wasn't quite as exciting as when the car crashed through the living room of the other police chase, but when it was all kind of done, it turned into one of those back and forth matches of her asking me, why'd you do this instead of that? And I was answering, I did that instead of this because of this. And things started getting heated up, and really, we're getting loud with each other. So I go home. I'm like, I'm just going to brush this off, come back to work the next day. Everything's going to be all hunky-dory. But however, when I walk in the next day, Sergeant and Lieutenant are like, hey, we need to see you. I'm like, okay. Heard you had a conflict with your training officer last night. I said, yeah, I did. In fact, I'd like to request a new training officer because this just isn't working out. I don't know what the problem is. And that's when the lieutenant says to me, the dream killer, well, we think you might be the problem, and we want you to turn in your badge and your gun. And I'm like, what? I'm like a week out after training for an entire year to be what I always wanted to be, a police officer. And it was just snatched from me. It was just taken from me. And I felt like the biggest loser in the world at that point, like the biggest failure. What kind of leader am I? I mean, who's going to follow me, and what am I going to do now? But there's that redemption, that opportunity that sometimes, just kind of comes up and hits us. And for me, although it was a very, very tragic day for the rest of the world, September 11th happened, and I'm still in the military reserves. Now, I got let go of my job, coincidentally, Friday the 13th, July 2001. 2 months later, I'm like, what am I going to do? And September 11th happens. And as tragic as it was for America and everybody involved, it actually gave me an opportunity. So, flash forward to 2003, and I'm invading Iraq, where I get to have my redemption. And that's where I was able to transfer my leadership with to the skills and the levels that I'm at kind of now. This is what gave me the redemption that I was talking about, to not feel like a letdown, not feel like a failure, because we've only been there a few weeks, right, in Iraq, and we go out on a mission. And on this mission, we're kind of set up in this little compound with 4 walls, one way in, one way out. Kind of look like the Alamo, if you know what that is.
Right, yeah.
And we're on this humanitarian mission where we're supposed to bring food to this town. And we show up to this town with the psychological operations unit. Those are the guys with the big speakers on their vehicles. And they're yelling over the loudspeakers, "Hey, everybody in the town, come to this location. We have food. Come one, come all." And we set up in that location with, like I said, one way in, one way out. And people start to show up. And I'm not talking just 10 or 15 people. I'm talking it's upwards of 10,000 people. And there's maybe 20 of us. And we start handing out these boxes of food where it's, hey, we got this women and children mindset first here in America. Let's do that. Feed the women and children first. However, in the Iraqi culture that is predominantly male and based around men, they didn't like that too much. So they start to do crazy things, like they're starting to fight with one of my sergeants, and he's like, "I'm not going to use my gun," so he tries to fist fight him. Not really working, and I'm seeing this all. I look over to this corporal. Well, all of a sudden he gets overwhelmed by some men, and they take his gun. And I'm like, oh boy, this line's about to fall apart. Then, craziest thing I've ever seen, they start taking some of these little kids and they start throwing them onto the razor wire to kind of use them as drawbridges to get across so they can come grab the food from the food truck. In the same process, one brick starts flying into the compound, 2 bricks, 3, 100 bricks. They're just flying like crazy. I mean, one's in line to smack my major in the head. I bat it down and kind of hurts my hand, but I start yelling at my major. And I had that moment when I yelled at my training officer back in the police car, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm yelling at a major. I'm an enlisted man. This is going to be not good. But I yell at him and I say, I don't care, I got to do something. The line's falling apart. We're all going to get messed up if something's not taken care of. I say, we need to get rid of this food. Just leave it here. Who cares? Whoever gets it, gets it. I'm going to jump up on this roof over here and take the position. So I grab these other 2 Marines and I say, hey, throw me up on this roof. I get up there, I reach down, I grab the other Marine, pull him up. I say, this is where my ammo is in case something happens, in case of fall. And we aim in on the brick throwers to cease the brick throwing. And after a few minutes, it finally ceases. I have another sergeant down below. I'm yelling at him from up above, pull the trucks up, we'll load up and we'll head out. So they pull the trucks up, we jump on the roof, we pop smoke, we bail out of this little city. Everybody gets unscathed, unhurt, apart from the Iraqis that got hurt. But that was kind of my redemption day from that failure when I was a police officer, because of that day in the leadership role and yelling actually at my major, they awarded me that Bronze Star that I told you I had.
Right.
And that was like the greatest feeling ever to have, to know that I wasn't a failure, that I wasn't this small person in the world, because that's how I felt when I lost the police job. And then next thing I know, within a year later, someone's giving me this great award for doing something exactly the same that happened before. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what led me to Motivation 8 and leadership and things of that nature. all things motivation. That was kind of my career turnaround point.
Okay.
That's my story on that.
Okay. Did you have another story?
Well, I have the other side of it too, that is more the personal life story that took place, and it kind of revolves around the world of magic and sniping, and I know that's two crazy things that don't really go together, but in this story it kind of does. So a few years ago, I was previously married to a girl from Australia, and we had 2 kids together. She had lived here in Texas for about 10 years with me. And at work, everything was getting kind of complacent. Like, I wasn't feeling like I was moving up the chain of command. I wasn't really going anywhere. I was like, man, I'm stuck. I need to do something. We need to move on, I think. She says, well, how about we move back to Australia? I've never lived in Australia, so for her it was moving back to Australia. But for me, it was kind of like, oh, okay, Texas to Australia, why not? And I put them on a plane, her and the 2 kids, and I send them across the world to get set up on their side of the world. And on my side of the world, I'm still trying to sell our house and get everything in order. And that takes me a few months to do. This was back during when the economy had kind of collapsed and was still in its recovery mode, so selling a house wasn't very easy.
Yeah.
Then when she's already over there in Australia and I'm still here, I coincidentally was a sniper at my current job. And I like to boast and brag about it. I'm really good at it. It's that talent. You know, everybody has their own talent. My talent happens to be shooting. And I go to the eye doctor one day, and it's that moment of like, what? And he tells me, hey, there's something in your eye. I mean, I was just there to get my glasses updated. He's like, hey, there's something in your eye. I think you need to go get checked out. Like, okay. So I go to the specialist, and he says, it's a friend of mine that I grew up with, and he says, hey, Aaron, I don't know how to tell you this. I'm only 36 years old at this point in this part of my story. And he says, you have this rare form of eye cancer. I was like, okay, how rare are we talking? He says, oh, there's only about 200 or 300 people in America that have it. I was like, wow, okay, what's this mean? What do we got to do? He says, well, one of 3 or 4 things is going to happen. This thing has a 90% cure rate. It's a childhood disease. Most of the people who have it are below the age of 12. I'm 36. Now I'm seeing why I'm so rare with having it. And he goes, we've either got to give you radiation, remove the eye, there's a possibility you can die, or we get lucky and it calcifies and kills itself. Like, oh wow, those are some great odds you just gave me. And what are the odds of me being a sniper and getting eye cancer in my shooting eye? It's like, what? How'd that happen? So I go and I tell my wife, who's in Australia, and like, this is what the doctor just told me. Like, I guess I better get around the world, because I don't know what's going to happen at this point. So I get lucky, I sell the house, I move to Australia. And within just a few weeks, my wife at the time tells me she wants a divorce. I'm like, what? Now I got cancer, now I'm about to get divorced. I'm on the other side of the world, I don't have any friends, I don't have any family here, I'm just kind of making this up as I go. So I do the most unlikely thing, hop on a plane, fly back to America. And instead of coming back to Texas, I didn't want to come back to friends and family because I felt kind of embarrassed that all this happened. So instead I moved to Las Vegas. Why would anybody want to move to Las Vegas? I don't know. I just love the city, its bright lights, and all its entertainment, I guess. But part of my reasoning for that, and this is where the magic plays in, is I've kind of been amateur type magician, been kind of practicing on the side. And so I'm like, I don't have a job. I don't really want to go work at McDonald's. I want to work at another law enforcement community, something bigger. Maybe I should go perform some magic on Fremont for a little while. And maybe I can do that as a part-time job until I can find the big jobs. And I would go during the day, take my hat off, put it on the ground. Not a clue to what I was doing, but I started performing some magic, bits and pieces I knew. And then I started going to this magic club that would meet up about once a month on Wednesdays. And it was kind of the underground secret society type magic club. You had to have a special handshake to get in, and I didn't know what I was doing. I just met a few people, found my way in there, got some of the old guys to show me some tricks and rules and laws, and they sent me back out to Fremont, and I started performing magic. And through performing magic, I got to experience all the smiles and the wonders that come from it. Because as a magician, you get to see everybody's reaction. It's kind of like watching David Blaine on TV. You see everybody's wild reactions and calm reactions, and it's just, I didn't feel like such a loser, after getting divorced and coming back around the world and giving up another job. And that was kind of my life-altering story that occurred. And as far as the cancer goes, I really got lucky, and it calcified. Although I can't see very well out of one of my eyes now. I'm not completely blind. I'm not going to die. And all things considered, it's very good to just be a little blind and not be afraid that you're going to lose something to cancer. And all things can come around, if you give it time, if you just run with the bulls, as they say. Something will happen for you in a good way. And I met a new girl, and we got married, and now we have another, like I said, daughter on the way. I just like letting people know that when they get down on themselves and when life really smacks them in the face like it did me, there's always recovery. And I started speaking about motivation and started to base my life off all things motivation, because when I got depressed, I ended up on YouTube looking for motivational videos, and that's where I found other people who inspired me, which led me to want to inspire others in the world. And I started training to be a speaker, and then I wrote my book, and I started the YouTube channel, and just one thing after the other, my life went full circle from, being broke, fear of cancer, losing jobs, moving around the world, and through all the motivational stuff, it helped me recover. And I always teach people about recovery, because you have to start with recovery, no matter if it's life or business. You have to really plant your feet and recover from whatever your problem was. For someone we've all known this, people who are in a relationship, they break up, one of them goes on the rebound instantly, and they're trying to jump right into another relationship they shouldn't be in, or they're starting to do things that they shouldn't do, and that's because they're not doing that recovery part. They're not recovering from their problem first. And then I wrote my book around this. It's called The Long Shot, Using Motivation to Recover and Discover. So that's what recovery is. And then discovery is, okay, if you're that person who was in a relationship and you just broke up, you did your recovering. Well, now, do you jump back into another relationship, start the process of looking, or do you stay single? That's the discovery process for people, and I like to teach people about that in my coaching and things of that nature. So recover, then you discover your new potentials, your new path, your new way of life, new direction. And then the third thing I teach on, third and final thing, is magic. Not necessarily, I'm not teaching people how to perform magic, but that recover, discover, and the magic will happen. And that's kind of how it went for me. You know, literally, I was on Fremont Street and not knowing what I was doing, but I was receiving these smiles that, you know, made my life all better. Right. That's the third part of what I coach on and things of that nature. Those are the two things that really led me to the channel, the Motivation 8, the channel that I'm trying to grow, and the reason that I'm on your show tonight, which I really do appreciate the opportunity for you doing that for me.
Oh, man, the pleasure's all mine.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about the 8, because it's called Motivation 8. So where does the 8 come in? I have a theory, but I'll let you tell us.
Some people figure it out. Some people, it hits them. And being from the magic world, I was like, really like motivation. How do I add something to it? I can't use motivation.com because that'll cost me $50,000 to buy it or something. So I was like, what about the infinity symbol, which means forever?
Yeah.
So Motivation 8, motivation forever. And that's kind of where I came up with the 8 and the Motivation 8.
I thought so. I'm pretty smart. But yeah, that is a clever idea. Wow, I like that. Motivation forever. That is dope. So, Aaron, what is it about your program that you feel are the key elements that would easily identify it from like other life coach, success coach, motivation coaches out there, or websites or blogs?
I like to use my personal stories, which is like what I just told you, but I don't, in my coaching, I don't like to make it all about me, because when I'm talking to people through the videos and in person, I try to make it about them. And I want them to be able to relate. And if they can tell me that they've been having a problem and they've had this major failure and this major setback, if I can just somehow make them realize that there is an end to the road here where you can come out on the good side of the fence, you know. And so when I'm trying to teach about people, I try to make it about them, not me. And I really try to push people towards their goals, their dreams that they've had sitting around on the coffee table, just sitting there waiting for them. And I try to make them aware that, why aren't you doing that one thing, that thing that drives you, that one thing that you always wanted to do? I was scared as hell trying to be a magician out on Fremont, but I was like, I got to step out and do this, or it's never going to be reality for me. And I try to allow people that knowledge that they can do that too. You know, they might not want to be a magician or a police officer, but they might want to be a math teacher. I mean, they might want to be something that you wouldn't think pertains to that, and they just haven't been pushed in the right direction. They haven't had the right mentor. They haven't had the right help. That's where I try to be different than just your everyday life coach. And that's what I love doing.
Yeah. And, you know, in this cyber world that we live in, and I call it that because most of the time we as people are, you know, always on the internet or the mobile phone, so it's kind of like a cyber society, if you ask me. But there still are those drifters who don't really know where to turn or who to turn to for a more positive outlook on life. I mean, if you go on Facebook, depending on your circle now, I'm not going to say everybody see the same thing, but if you're friends with a lot of people around the world, you're going to get a mixture of energy, whether it's negative, positive, or a little bit of both. So let's say there's those drifters out there, and you know their Facebook timeline or feed is just filled with their friends and their problems, and they don't know where to turn because even for men, it's hard to talk about like problems or recovering, going through the recovering process, because as a man, you can actually find temporary bandages, for heartbreak, for, failed businesses. Okay, we may turn to alcohol or drugs or just find another woman or man, whatever, whatever you choose. Animals, dogs, cats, So what is your, I mean, I got a cat myself. So when I was going through heartbreak with my wife, ex-wife now, I had a cat that was there. So that was my bandage. But what is your opinion on that? Like, how can we help those scrattlers out there who really don't know where to turn to, and the places they do turn to is just filled with a bunch of, more negative thoughts and things happening to other people?
Well, let me first say I'm a cat house too. We have cats here as well.
Ooh.
But as far as when somebody's trying to find what they're looking for with the help of somebody else, when I found that I was moving back to Las Vegas, I was embarrassed about coming back to Texas and being around friends and family. I shouldn't have been embarrassed, but I felt that way inside. And lots of men won't cry, and when you're a younger man, you try to avoid emotions like that, and when you're an older man, it comes naturally. You're not afraid to cry.
Yeah, right.
But what I try to tell people, when you're looking for somebody, don't always necessarily look towards your family. You might have a best friend that you might turn to that might be a better fit than your mom or something, because sometimes family's views and opinions can be more harmful than good. They don't mean to be harmful, but sometimes they can be.
Right.
And why I do the videos is I'm just hoping that people do what I did when I moved back around the world, and I was hopping on YouTube going, maybe I could find somebody in the video realm that I have never met in my life. Maybe I can find somebody that will help me. And that's what I tell people to do. And I hope that they find through my YouTube videos and stuff that they just find some kind of value in knowing that even though they may not have met me, maybe I can help them somehow. Maybe they can just get one little valuable piece of information, and then they'll know what to do to get on the right path to, recovering from the job world or the life world, the home world. That's what I like to tell people about that.
How often are you broadcasting?
I'm currently trying to put out one video a week, which I started off kind of small and goofy, not knowing what I was doing, like a lot of things when we start. I had some goofy videos at first, but since then I've kind of caught on, and I'll try to do an average of at least a 10-minute video, but even a 10-minute video can take you a couple hours to edit, add music and video, and then you got to film it and everything. But I've come to find that's a hobby. I just love doing it. I really get into that.
So you edit your own videos?
I do. It took some practice, and just had to sit down and learn it. And now the outcome is Motivation 8. Videos hopefully keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about life changes. We all handle changes differently. Sometimes we handle them the same way, or the more common way. But when you're deciding to go after a passion, like a new business, and you are willing to leave the corporate world behind, the 9-to-5 mentality behind, how surreal do those moments become where it's like you're putting everything on the line for a goal or a passion or a dream? And how do you deal with getting past, the fear of flying, if you will?
That's a great point that you bring up, fear of flying. I mean, one of the quotes I tell people is, why do birds have the ability to fly anywhere, but yet most of them fly nowhere? And they stay in one spot their entire life when they have the wings to fly whenever they could to wherever they wanted to. And I just tell people that if they're going to try to step out and do something, realize they might feel like they have what I call the golden handcuffs on them. They might have a stable, steady type career job where they're making a comfortable living. They're not living in poverty, but they're not millionaire. They're kind of the typical middle class, and that's when you get golden handcuffed and you become afraid to do things. You become afraid to step out and try something new. And people get very surreal, as you were saying, when they want to do what they've always wanted to do, but to quit their job to do it, well, that's a really, really tough thing for people to do. Yeah. They have a hard time with it. And I felt that way too when I was quitting just to move around the world. I didn't know I was going to end up in Vegas, but I was like, wow, am I going to do this? Am I going to quit this well-paying job and move 8,000 miles to the other side of the planet? You really got to dig deep, find commitment in yourself, and realize change is a good thing. Change is hard, but change is a very good thing. And most people, in every 10 years in their life, 5 to 10 years, they want a major change anyway. Yeah. Be it career, promotion, kids get older, every 5 to 10 years something big needs to change. And don't feel like you have those golden handcuffs on you. Take them off. You're not stuck to that job that's just kind of mediocre, but it's not doing for you what you want to do.
Yeah. So what's the bigger picture for you?
Bigger picture for me is, personally, I want to start over. And I got that opportunity, got remarried. I'm almost 42 years old, and I've got a daughter due, coincidentally, September 11th. And I'm excited because I have a 12 and a 14-year-old, but now I'm going to have a newborn, and everybody's like, how does that make you feel? You're a lot older now, Well, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that.
Super fun.
I asked the older dads of the world. They said they have more money and they have more patience than when they were 20-year-old dads. And so it becomes a lot easier, they said. And so the big purpose for me now is I've got the family again. I've got the home again. Now I'm trying to expand on the speaking and the coaching and the Motivation 8 channel. And that's just become my passions and my purpose now, is to help other people, find their way sometimes when they just need a little help, a little push.
Yeah. Let's chat about your book, The Long Shot. Like, going through the process of writing, like, how did you know, or how did you feel when a chapter should end and another one should begin?
Starting the book, I talked to other people kind of in the industry of motivation and stuff, and I actually wrote the book before I did the channel or anything else. And I found that the book, when it came to writing, I just found that I really enjoyed writing, which fascinated me because I was horrible in English, high school. But when I'd have downtime at work, in the security world, I'd just sit down and I'd start writing, and before I knew it, I had 1,000 words on the page. And I would just write one story here and there until I had about 20 stories, and then I threw them all together. Had my wife help me edit it and clean it up a little bit. I can always have the words. I'm not really good at spellings and stuff, but she's the great editor. But then we put it all together, and just, like I said, by putting one story out every time I had a down period, some downtime at work, I would just throw together a story. And then before I knew it, like I said, 20 stories later, 30 stories later, I threw them all together and had to go learn how to create a book. Had to learn how to, how was I going to publish it? How was I going to let people know about it? This is nothing that I thought of when I was writing. I kind of found that the writing was easier than the rest of the process. And now I really I use it, I give it away free sometimes, and I use it kind of as a business card, and it's really opened up a lot of doors for me. It's given me some opportunities that didn't exist before, and it's all because I just committed to myself and sat down, and when I'd have 10 minutes, 20 minutes of free time, just write out a couple words, and it led to this.
Oh, wow. Man, that's incredible, Aaron. You mentioned that you like to write. Is there any more books coming? And maybe not in that particular, I guess you say category, but maybe a different category, or maybe something, a part 2 or a continuation? Because, like I said, motivation is forever.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind expanding more on the book that I've already written, maybe come out with a part 2 or something. I've never really thought about, writing sci-fi or some kind of, something out of that realm, but I have found that with the YouTube channel, I always tend to write a bunch of stuff out before I begin speaking for the week's video. So I keep continuously writing, and it's almost like I'm writing at least one chapter a week, but instead of for a book, I put it on YouTube, and I'll sit down and I'll try to write something maybe inspiring or motivational or something quote related, but each week is a different learning process for me as well, because I gotta go kind of research a little bit. And I got to know what I'm talking about, so I don't just get on the videos and make a fool of myself. So I continue my writing through the YouTube channel, believe it or not. But yes, I would like to write another book.
Okay. Yeah, for all our interviews, I have to write out like a script. It kind of keeps the flow, kind of keeps me from rambling. Although I ramble a lot. I kind of toss the script out sometimes. Sometimes I go off script. Sometimes I just make things up as I go.
That's what we do in radio.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So, what kind of books do you read yourself?
I tend to stick to true story novels, and I like biographies. I like reading about other people. Everything from Ben Franklin to Houdini. So I really enjoy learning about where other people came from. Keeps me inspired to do better work.
Yeah. Man, it's like I have this weird thing. People that I meet, I just want to ask them, like, say, "Hey, what's your story? Where'd you come from?" But I know that would be random, just walking up to people doing that. But I mean, people are so fascinating. Just, no matter what stage in life they're at, it's kind of like, I want to hear the backstory. How they grew up, stuff like that. How did you grow up, Aaron? how was life for a young Aaron Flowers?
Well, in my younger elementary years, I moved around a lot. I went to about 6 different elementaries.
Oh wow!
About one, I think I averaged about one a year. But I was born in Amarillo, Texas. Lived here a few years, and my mom got married. We ended up in the DFW, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Lived there a few years, and then we moved to North Carolina. So I got to experience the East Coast for a few years till we came back to Amarillo a few years later when my mom got divorced. So going to school in my younger years was definitely interesting, but I didn't know anything different. I grew up junior high school here in Texas. Then I joined the Marines and I got stationed in California, so then I got to go experience the West Coast a little bit. And so I've learned about the East Coast, I've learned about the central part of America, and I've learned about the West Coast. And I got to see all the aspects. And of course, you know, my 2 kids still currently live in Australia. I go and see them on the regular, so I get to experience the world, and that's kind of how I've grown up, and that's really all I know. Just keep going, keep seeing things, keep traveling.
Yeah. You know, Aaron, sometimes we can be our own worst enemy.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever dealt with self-disbelief?
Yeah, I actually talk about this sometimes with people is self-sabotage. You know, everything's going good for them, and then all of a sudden they want to change something, and it's like, why are you changing that? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know, and I see people, and I've done it before too. I think we all have. They just self-sabotage, and instead of, you know, let's just take, for example, trying to promote at work or something. They want to promote. They went up for one interview. They got, you know, not accepted or not. They got rejected by the employer or whatever, and they says maybe next time. Well, then they never have a next time because they start to self-sabotage, and they think, well, I'm not what they want. I'm kind of worthless. I'm just not going to do it, you know. And they give up their opportunities, not knowing that sometimes life is hard. Life will kick you in the face. Life will keep you down. But it does bring opportunities if you stick with it and you keep at it, and you don't self-sabotage yourself. You don't get in your own way. Get out of your own way.
Yeah, that's a hard thing to do, Aaron. I mean, I won't say it's impossible, but it is definitely a hard thing to do because we talk to ourselves the most. We are with ourselves the most. So, you know, even thoughts and the words we say to ourselves, I mean, hold some type of weight. It really does. Some type of effect to where we start to believe ourselves when we tell ourselves, you don't deserve that job, or you don't have enough credentials for that, you know, or you can't live in that neighborhood, or you can't drive that car. You know?
Yep.
I mean, are there any remedies for that, though? I mean, we can always think about, well, let me kill that noise and think about something positive, or, you know, put some affirmations into the air. But even sometimes we forget to do that, when it seems like sometimes having self-doubt just seems like the thing to do, the coping mechanism, I guess you could say.
Yeah. We all have people, friends, family in our lives, and that's what I was mentioning earlier, was sometimes those people are not the best answer to the questions that you have. Your family doesn't work with you. They feel empathy for you, and they feel sorry that things might be going bad for you, but sometimes people will send you astray because they feel like they're helping you, but they really aren't. Not for the good, anyway. And I always tell people to find the right mentor. I mean, if you have to take a little bit of time, well, take that time and find that right mentor. And if you need to find somebody that you work with that you would never think you'd find yourself talking to because they're the boss and you're not, well, just pull them aside and say, hey, I would like to promote, or I would like to be where you're at. I need help. Can you help me? Most of the time, people will say, oh yeah, I'll help you. Sure, we need more people willing to step out of the comfort zone like you. And a lot of doors and a lot of opportunities open up for people that way when they find the right mentor. And it leads to better opportunities for them. Now, sometimes you might have to pay somebody to be your mentor. I mean, if you want to be a billionaire and you're a millionaire, you're probably going to pay a billionaire to teach you how to get there. And sometimes that's required, that you spend some money on yourself. That's how you educate yourself. But then there's those mentors that, you know, they're there. You just have to realize they're there and ask them. They don't realize they're your mentor until you ask them.
Yeah. So, Aaron, where can people find your book, The Long Shot?
They can find my book, The Long Shot by Aaron Flowers. It's on Amazon and it's on Kindle. You can purchase it there if you'd like. And
guys, just in case
you're interested.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, and if they're interested in motivation8.com, there's a direct link on there as well, where you can see not just my videos, but you can see like a trailer commercial kind of thing for the book. It explains a little bit about it. That's one of the easier ways to find it too.
And guys, just in case you need those links, we have them in the show notes and in the description of this episode. So all you have to do is click the link. Aaron, how do you keep it interesting for yourself? I meant to say too, guys, it's always best to hear it from a guy who has walked that walk and been through it, like Aaron has. He most definitely knows exactly what he's talking about. Feeling low and still climbing the mountain to reach the peak, the top. And then spreading the message, how you can overcome, the molehills, the mountains, and other obstacles that come in your life. So check out the book, guys, The Long Shot. Yeah, so Aaron, you have a voice that is meant to inspire people. So how do you keep it interesting for yourself?
Well, I get writer's block too, where I'm just kind of like, or I'm having a bad day like everybody else, just like, man, what am I going to write about? What's this week's video going to be about? And one of the ways I found to overcome that was I keep like a little logbook, a little journal with me at all times. And I keep a small portion on my phone set aside for if I have my phone with me, when I might be out running and all of a sudden this creative idea will come to me. I'm like, man, I better write this down. It's kind of like a dream. If you don't write it down right away, you're going to forget what that creative idea was. And so I tally up all these creative ideas through the week that kind of hit me randomly whenever I can write them down. And then I'll sit down, and that's how I end up writing sometimes about the week's video, because somebody that I crossed paths with may have had a bad day. Well, why were they having a bad day? It was because they were unmotivated or whatever the thing is. Well, then I'll write that down as how can I help them? How can I help other people who are in this situation? And I'll write that down in my little logbook, and then when I get downtime, I start writing the novels, the stories, the videos, and that's how I keep the creativity flowing. so that I don't just have to sit down and go, what am I going to write about this week, or what am I going to talk about this week? You know, you got to make out a plan. No matter what industry you're in, you got to make out a plan. And you might have that plan out 1 month to 3 months in advance. You might know the next 10 stories you're going to talk about. That's how I keep the creativity flowing.
Nice. All right, guys. After the music break, it'll be time for our usual tradition. It is called the Hot Seat, and our fans love this part of the segment, of course, along with the actual interview. But the audience will get a chance to hear Aaron Flowers provide us with some vocals. Maybe he can sing poetry, inspirational speech, spoken word, freestyle raps, jokes, stories, live instruments, or maybe he can even read a passage from his book. Well, you never know with these creative minds and vessels we're producing the spotlight, and today we'll find out if Aaron Flowers has what it takes to be put on the spot, a test of his true artistry, and maybe even some hidden talents. But we have a song by a group called Big Band, and their song is called Static. Here it goes. That was Big Band with their song Static. Pleasure, by its very definition, is enjoyable. We are naturally attracted to pleasure, like strongly attracted, and will often surmount great obstacles in order to obtain it. Yet, what is pleasure? All sorts of people find all sorts of different pleasures in a wide range of activities and situations. What one person considers to be the height of pleasure, another person will detest. Our pleasures vary from season to season, or depending on the time of the day, our environment, or the people around us. Pleasure is highly subjective, and though you cannot help but be attracted to it, you can control what you consider to be pleasure. The desire for pleasure is a powerful motivator. You can make the best use of that motivator by selecting pleasures which lead to your goals. Oh man, gotta be kidding me. No, it's the truth. It's the truth. Pleasure is a matter of conditioning. No one who smokes their first cigarette would consider it to be pleasure. Oh yeah, I can definitely remember that very first puff. Like, ooh, it's not as cool as I thought. But then later, it became cool. Don't listen to me, kids. Anyway, yet millions of people have conditioned themselves to get pleasure from smoking. I was one of them. I smoke no longer. No overweight, out of shape person would find pleasure in jogging around the block. And that's not a dig at anybody. Just saying, it's pain, you know. And there's a saying that goes with pleasure and pain. But if you like pain, you know, I don't know where I was going with that. Yet, you know, millions of avid joggers achieve a runner's high each day from exactly the same activity. Do the things that please you and that also serve you. If so, you'll be pleasantly motivated towards a life of fulfillment. Take that from me, Danny Mussolini. That is my word, and word is bond. But for right now, let's get back to the most important thing, the man of the moment, Mr. Aaron Flowers. You're back live with us and in our hot seat. Sorry for that long song, which was not even done yet. My God. But yeah, welcome back.
Thanks for having me again. And like I said, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be on your show.
Definitely. Yeah. So what kind of talent are you going to display for us tonight?
Talent. I'm probably not the best rapper and singer in the world, so I don't want to scare away your audience, but I have like
You're from Texas, man.
Got that like southern drawl.
In hip hop. Yeah.
We talked about writing earlier. I have a little bit of some of my words for my next YouTube video. I have to probably cut a few of those out. And
nice. Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, I'll just give you a little snippet then of one of the videos I'll be doing here in a week or two. So, life is hard, and it brings many daunting words with it. Words like failure, hard times, trials, tribulations, scaredness, and fear. But listen to this. Would you rather fail a few times and have a big win, or fail and just give up? Because giving up will be easy, but your reward of doing what you love would truly pass you by. There are lots and lots of stories out there about if you get knocked down, then get back up. But it takes commitment to do that and to not quit, not give up. So if something grabs a hold of you all the time and it keeps your attention, then follow that passion. You'll be more committed to the follow-through if you do. The goal, the dream of doing what you love. When your heart isn't with something, move on. Maybe there's a new thing that's about to grab a hold of you. It's time to find your way. No more procrastinating. It's time to push on towards that dream, because there's quitting and there's striving. So strive towards that thing that you love to do. That's my clip.
Awesome. We got a sneak preview, guys. That's so incredible. Aaron, a lot of positive motivators, business mongols, deep divers, actors, indie artists, and just, common everyday people listen to this show. We have a wide range of listeners and with different backgrounds. So what advice can you give to people that are just starting out on their own? Maybe they want to be an inspirational speaker or even the life coach or a YouTuber. What's your advice?
My advice is pretty simple to that, and if you could just remember this one word, and that word is start. You're not going to be good at whatever it is you do necessarily right away unless you've already been doing it for a long time. But start. You have to start. I had to start the YouTube channel. I had to learn the editing. I had to learn videos. I had to learn recording. I knew none of that stuff, but yeah, the first few videos were kind of goofy, but they evolved into something way better. And I would tell anybody who wants to do something, just start. Go somewhere with it.
Yeah. And great advice. What about sacrifices they may encounter? Or sacrifice they may have to make these things possible?
Oh, there's definitely always going to be sacrifices that people need to do and they're going to have. I mean, you're going to have to give up your free time. You're going to have to give up your downtime. You're going to have to give up family time on some occasions. But if you really want to do something, then the only way you're going to be able to do that is to sacrifice some time. But if you have a wife or whatever, a husband, just tell them, this is something I really want to do. This is something I'm passionate about. I need to just set aside some time. I don't want to take away from you, family, but I do want to start this. And, I mean, people around you will sacrifice their time as well, but if you're upfront with them, I think they'll be willing to help you out greatly.
What about rewards?
The rewards always come after the sacrifice. They always come after you start. And rewards can be very unexpected sometimes, and they can be opportunities that you had no idea were about to happen. It's kind of like when you're watching a movie and the singer got up on stage, and the whole movie's been about how they've been trying to get on that stage. And then they finally do, and they smack it out of the ballpark. And hello, a producer shows up. Hello, a manager, somebody shows up with an offer. And rewards always come when you least expect them. And they bring opportunities with them. You just got to recognize those opportunities will only occur if you start, like we said a while ago, and then you're willing to sacrifice a little bit to get there. And the rewards will happen.
All right. One more time, Aaron, where can people connect with you online?
I am on YouTube, of course, Motivation 8 or Aaron Flowers. You can find me one or the other on YouTube there. There's motivation8.com, and I also have a small Instagram following, which is at motivation_8. And I put clippets and things of that nature on the Instagram. Those are the 3 major places you can find me. And Facebook.
Alright. Sounds awesome. I really enjoyed you, Aaron. Thank you so much for being our guest on tonight's episode.
Thank you for having me, Dean.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. We'll catch you next time, man. Have a great night.
Yes, sir. You too.
You are now listening to Vigilantes Radio, the people's choice for quality interviews, art, music, and hot topics. Hosted by Demetrius Houdini Black Reynolds of the duo No Longer the Hero. All episodes of this podcast are available for free download at www.onlyonemediagroup.com. This is a 7th Sign Regime Rebirth Worldwide Syndicate exclusive.